going on, guys? We are watching some LCK and LPL.
Just be dead.
Doing
Kellen's
a
coming
little bit
through,
of live
and
betting.
he really wants to shake his
Let's see how
hand.
we go.
There's the flash, cannon barrage. Not really doing anything. I don't know whether that was a button that needed to be pressed. You still got some resets coming in, and like you were saying, Showmaker just being a nuisance in the bottom lane.
Yeah, I mean, he's just putting the pressure on bottom side here. D+, not quite able to catch the Gnar. They haven't really taken that many turrets off of the map, so it's a little bit tough to actually set that one up there, unfortunately. But at the end of the day, though, you could see the power of D+ just sitting in his chokes.
Ooh.
That really hurts. All right, Trial by Fire needs to come through for that big damage, and aiming just says it doesn't need to be there. Hostile takeover, and Rascal, he flashed before. He doesn't have it available now, as Kellen will be punished. But that is a 2-for-1, and yeah, Teddy might be fed, but they're just not fighting where he can do anything about it.
Yeah, he's fighting in chokes only, Pleto.
Oh, okay, Showmaker diving on in. That is the entire kitchen sink down on top of Showmaker. But he'll go into his shroud, and he might just be okay.
This game's just
Backflip over
GG.
the wall, the Arctic Assault to do the same thing as Kingen.
I think
he is
Dumb
still
One is
looming in the brush,
just so
but
much
doesn't
stronger.
find the barrel chain. There to take down
Well,
Pleto.
I
So
don't
they do
know.
lose their
Apparently
jungler, but I
Gangplank's
think
still
with Kellen
super
going
weak.
down, D+ don't feel like they can do the
I don't know.
No, I don't think so. And, you know, they still get huge wins, though, out of these types of plays. There's no vision. Look at the bomb coming out from Teddy as well. They have no vision, so he ults the Baron, assuming they're on it. That's how clueless DRX were in this moment. Spun has to come in and check. He's looking to maybe go in there and hope for a steal, but then he's just caught out. As you can see, Teddy is doing massive amounts of damage, which is in part why they couldn't end up doing the Baron, even though he used his ult. I guess they didn't have vision of that. Is over here.
Rascal teleported to the bottom lane.
That's not it.
Oh no, that means he's definitely not going to be here for this fight. Let's see whether Teddy can get a Mega Inferno Bomb over. He does have it available, and he is in range, but this is just dead. It's just gone. Went down to 83, but it doesn't seem to matter because there was no one in the pit. D+ have got everything.
Now they can just use the Baron to set up for Elder and do it again. And man, what a rough call for Rascal to TP bottom at a pivotal
Yeah,
moment.
Dumb One is
They
just
were
so
ruthless
DRX
to
just has
try
not
to
looked
deny
good.
the Baron moments before. And maybe
I
the
like
idea
watching
there
them.
was a
I
split
actually
call.
really
TP
like
was supposed
watching
to push out
Rascal. I
bottom to
really
try to
like
contest Elder, but ends up being a disaster
seeing
because they
what
tried to come
Teddy
over there
can do
anyways,
just
come up with
because of his
nothing.
old
Now Teddy's
T1
ult is
days,
on
but he has
cooldown.
been
Elder
struggling
spawns
so
in
far.
15. He will get the ult back
playing
up
good
in the
this
longer
game.
fight here, but D+ complete control.
We shall
And
see.
Rascal does have a Gnar in a decent position, and I guess you could argue that Elder is more important, and it absolutely is, as now Pleto with the Eclipse is able to tank up a few of these barrels. The 3-man to come through, and now the Cannon Barrage on top of it. Teddy's the target, but he is able to get himself out of there with that Seraph shield. Showmaker's looking for him, though. There's a 5-point strike, and now the perfect execution. This should be the cleanup for D+.
Yeah, that's GG.
There is no response from DRX.
If I got on a little bit earlier, I would have been able to bet on this game with pretty good odds, I think, comparatively.
Fight for D+ in the latter half of the game, just playing the map better. DRX had a huge
So
lead.
let's see what
Lost
all
the
bets we
dragons,
got
so couldn't
possible
contest,
right
couldn't
now.
break through the barrels as Rascal.
Oh, yeah. I don't think Rascal's going to be surviving this one. Oh, maybe he is, because D+ are distracted by the base.
Yeah, I think they're a little bit more interested in killing the Nexus than killing the Yordle there, as Kellen's going to stop his backs as well. He can't even get home.
Just shaking his hand over and over again. He will get gnawed into the wall and likely loses this 1v1. But maybe the base will die first as Pled is being ignored at the same time. There is the death for Kellen as Mega Inferno Bomb comes on through. But it is 2 turrets and a dead Leona, and then the Nexus goes down. D+ pick up the
To be
win
fair,
in
I
the end.
probably would have bet under 32
You know,
minutes.
it wasn't the cleanest start, and it was a risky draft, but man, the objective control for D+ was fantastic, and also just straight up an amazing game from Kellen. There was so much, I had so much hope for DRX with the lead they had, the control they were showing on the map, how they were avoiding those fights, Rascal's laning phase. We got out of the lane, he had some good Gnar moments as well, but some disastrous dives, and that bottom dive especially really just put the wind out of the sails for DRX, and then they could not break in to those dragons. They lost all their momentum. And D+, unique drafting style here in this one. I wasn't the hugest fan of the Akali, but Showmaker, he got Teddy in the end in that last fight. It was the only one who could do it, and D+ just went in their own way.
And I think when it's Showmaker, you trust him, right? Like, there are certain players that when they lock in Cassidy, you're like, ugh.
Yeah.
But with Showmaker, you're like, oh, okay, I see the angle here. Maybe it's like, you know, the final in 2020 or 2021. You know, the Akali, very similar thing. he can pick it at any moment. I'm like, if he's
Alrighty.
feeling it,
Look at these
then he's
damage
going to win.
numbers.
As yeah, the damage numbers aren't necessarily there. They are for Kingen though. And he had like 100%
Look at that
kill
Teddy
contribution
damage.
for a whole lot of that
Jesus.
game. He was the focus from DRX. And they got punished for it over and over again.
It was such a great start with how they were punishing him, but then they went a little bit too heavy on it.
Yeah,
I actually think
and I don't know who you're voting
has
for,
a lot of
PRG. I think
potential
Kellen,
to be a very
phenomenal
good
game,
aggressive
Kingen,
sport.
phenomenal game. But it's a toss-up between those
But
two.
you
We'll see
know.
who takes it. Short break time, then it's going to be the space. Then we'll have game 2. We'll see you there.
Hot damn, Sponge. There it is. Alright, so looking at the... Yeah, they're just completely outclassed individually. It's not even like... It's not even like DRX has like a player that could realistically outplay them. Especially when your ADC Teddy's on Ziggs instead of something a little bit more proactive in this meta. Like hell, I'd even probably say Ashe would be better. But like, how are they gonna kill some of these people if there's too much healing? Yeah, I don't know. Alright, let's see. What all is going on for this one now? Any fun stuff? It's plus 180 on first to 5 kills for DRX, which they can definitely do that. Let's see what the comps are. Map duration sitting right at 29, it looks like, is the middle. Let's see. The yes to a pentakill is 1,000. That's not that good. If DRX win in under 27 minutes, it's a plus 1,000 right now, which is pretty crazy. The odds on map duration, I think, look best in first to kills. Total kills is sitting at 24.5. Honestly, with how these LCK teams have been playing, it's kind of hard to tell. That's a pretty good average. The ads are fun. He has cool hair. Always gotta love those Korean ads. They're always something fun. And it's like the difference. If anybody ever wanted to know the difference between Korea and China, here you go. I mean, there's a lot of them, but this is just a very easy example. Yeah. That's what you get when you watch the LPL compared to LCK. It's so much difference per the stream. Deft Showmaker, and I don't even know who that is actually. Oh Lord. They're such good actors. Such good actors. I don't think Kiyo's going to be around to watch or analyze with us this morning. We are here bright and early with some LCK and LPL. Alrighty guys, I will be right back. I got an Amazon delivery that came last night that I just remembered, which is going to help out with our Wi-Fi issue that we had earlier today. And then I am going to go heat myself up a Jimmy Dean sausage biscuit. I'll be right back.
Welcome back to the space here for LCK Summer. D+ go up against DRX 1-0. I'm Digon to break it all down. Alongside me is Ox and Chronicler, and one of us here might have put all their Twitch channel points on DRX winning.
Maybe, you know. You gotta supposedly. You gotta, you know, I feel like you gotta commit. You gotta commit.
At 12 minutes, you're like, I put all of it in there, and
I put it in
feeling real
pre-draft.
good.
I put it in. It was just a vibe, you know. But apparently the vibes were off.
Yeah, you saw Ziggs lock in. Even
No, he actually did it before. It was as we were getting into draft.
I did pre-Ziggs, and then they locked Ziggs, and I'm like, oh, baby.
Every Ziggs ult, he's like, ooh.
Yeah, I wanna highlight the specifically GP here. I think the rest of what DK did made a lot of sense, right? You have Kalista, which I don't think Amy's Kalista is necessarily that great, but Renata, there was once upon a time an era where Kellen was considered at worst like the second best, arguably the best Renata in the LCK. So him getting back on that was really cool. The GP is cool as a counter pick into the Gnar. I think we very clearly saw that if you play GP, you need to play very respectful, because in 1v1 you're quite strong, but you are a sitting duck. And I think that was where a lot of the leads for DRX came from, because GP is so easy to dive, particularly with the amount of side lane roam and lockdown that you have available. But in theory, obviously, it gives you a ton of extra range, and it works really well with dive comp. So when, you know, Akali and Kalista are jumping in, just having the GP ult and the threat of barrels is really strong.
I actually kind of really like the DRX comp, the fact they have this Vi to Leia combo seems so strong. Into the Kalista as well. Forced aiming to go the lethality build, because you're not going to be able to freely auto-attack into this. And it's been nerfed. You know, Kalista got some nerfs, but we also saw Opportunity nerfed, which you still not going. And the Ziggs Leona, this combo has been super popular in the LPL, and you saw really how it could take off in the early game.
Yeah, and is shout-outs to Pleta, who multiple times was not engaging on the Sejuani, making that we've seen multiple times other supports do, and they don't have enough damage to get blown up. That led to some early leads. Let's take a look at some of the highlights here. At the top side of the map, early on in this laning phase, this is the diving and the bullying of the GP you're talking about.
What is also cool is that this is actually one of the dreamed Ziggs games that Orcs is always talking about. We actually got it here this time around because this gank happened really nicely done by Sponge. I think his early laning phase was quite strong, or his impact radar. And then 2 blades come through, and Orc said, you know what would be great here?
If Ziggs went top. And I love these adaptations. Ziggs is so good at taking these towers. If they're even slightly low, like the tower's 60%, making the move to punish that is such an effective tool, because any other champ in the game cannot compete with the fact that at 3 plates, it's like an empowered auto and a satchel away.
And here, Kingen making a really big mistake while his team is taking Drake on the other side of the map, particularly with GP. Like, you can't be that far up. Yes, you have your oranges, but that's not going to save you if you're greeting for a plate. And then this is where the game felt like DK might actually be in trouble. This is a pretty like early to mid-game tempo style composition outside of the GP. So if you start falling behind this far, this early on, it can actually be super detrimental.
Yeah, and we obviously saw D+ going for the tower on the bot side, but you know they didn't even manage to get the 1 tower in the time that those 2 were taking top. So I think it just kind of shows the value of the Ziggs and the fact that you can really, especially when you pair it with stuff like Tristana, we didn't see this game, but is super effective at just taking structures across the map. And suddenly we came out of this where there was a 1.5k gold lead for the Ziggs over the Kalista, which is huge. Unfortunately, wasn't enough for DRX.
Yeah, afterwards, we got to see a bunch of scraps around the Drake pit that went more towards D+'s side and wasn't cool, full wins. And then it allowed them to stack the Drakes, which then led to this Rascal TP, the Baron, and then closing the game off with the Elder.
And this is so rough because you already have the Taliyah down there who can obviously get over quicker with her ultimate. But the main thing is that when you're playing a composition like this with the Ziggs, with the Gnar, with the Taliyah, it is so dangerous for a red side comp to do Baron. Trapped in the pit, you're super vulnerable. But by TPing the Gnar bot, by not being ready, the Baron is taken before the ult from the Ziggs is even fired. That should have been the point where DRX punish, and instead they get a free Baron. And then this fight around the dragon, Lucid finds a great angle onto Teddy, who just gets completely obliterated by Showmaker after the fact.
Yeah, the shield for Teddy already goes down, which means that Showmaker like a Q and an auto, and he's just gone. And I think the main thing here for DRX is that Rascal actually had a really great game up until that point. I actually think that he looked better than he has all splits. His laning phase was good in a matchup that can definitely be rough. He got some help, but he absorbed the gank towards bot side. But that 1 TP was all the mistake that DK needed.
And I think this is a sort of game where DRX do a lot of good things near the game. They have a pretty good understanding of how their champions function. But as a team, D+ are just a level ahead. And you can see that in the decisions in the mid-game when it came to things like the Baron setup, the mistake from Rascal TP and bot. So still some work to be good, but work to be done, but a good omen for DRX.
All right, well, let's see who the POG is for D+, as they are the victors in this game. And, yes, a based pick here. Kellen on the support. Again, we covered those early, or I guess mid-game fights where they were winning it. A lot of it had to do with the Renata Glass ults that Kellen was pulling off.
Imagine this is going to be a pretty close vote. I think the early game for DK was pretty uneventful, but the team fights, the Kellen ultimates, to me, were the big difference maker as well. I think that we saw Lucid do a really good job.
Alrighty, guys, let's see how it works. We just got our Ethernet over.
Wasn't as active in the early game, as I think the casters highlighted very well. Again, I want to highlight Kellen was by far the most criticized member on this roster.
Outlet or whatever the hell it's
a really
called.
bad performance, really wasn't able to
So
step
let me
up
see.
to the level that we've seen him in the past. And him really coming into his own, I think, is quite big. And yeah, this doesn't surprise me at all. I think this is makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, pretty close one. You know, the mid ones, I think from media, Showmaker had a quiet game, but really farmed up a storm, and in that final fight was a big threat. I'm not sure how I feel about the GP ones. You know, he was involved in a lot of kills, but I don't feel like he was that impactful. But, you know, I think it's still a decent spread. A lot of people who are making an impact and getting the game back in D+'s favor.
Yeah, might get some KW media votes there, but I think overall D+ absorbed a lot of the pressure that DRX made and then ended up getting the victory there. Tiebreaker broken by the cast, who are standing by right now. Let's send it on over to Atlas and Wolf.
Jesus Christ, stop opening over there.
Thank you very much, Tycoon. And And yeah, congratulations to Kellen. Absolutely not robbed on that front, although it was very, very close. I think the Showmaker vote's certainly looking a little bit silly. I would
I'm gonna go check on the
against,
Ethernet on the other side.
you know, saying that the GP
See
votes
if
weren't
we can
great
make sure that
because
this is
he
working
absorbed
properly.
everything, but still very, very valuable towards the end. Those cannon barrages did so much work, and that bottom lane play maybe is stuck in my mind.
And also his barrel placement, you know, leading into those fights made it so difficult to approach as DRX because they had a lot of engage, but they just couldn't close the gap. I mean, the Ziggs bombs were great from Teddy. He had a fantastic game, but he obviously alone can't just press R to win the team fight. He's going to need a little bit more setup than that. DRX will choose blue side, so back-to-back blue side games for them here, moving into the second one. The draft, I think, wasn't really an issue at all. I think we'll probably see some adjustments made on the D+ side because they were the ones who were freestyling a little bit more, but they can now do things like ban the Ziggs away if they don't want to deal with that because that was one of the big problems they had in the early to mid-game, losing all those turrets. I think Ox really said it best, though, in that as a team, in terms of coordination, D+ were the better team in Game 1, and that is why DRX couldn't cross the finish line.
Not quite. Let's see whether they can do so as we hop into the draft for game number 2. This is where the resets are going to have to come in, and not too far. Don't reset too far, right? Like, I don't want Rascal going back to spring. I want him to stay about where he was in the early game of the last game, and then play with the team for the rest of it. Don't teleport bottom lane when you've just been having a tussle around the Baron pit, okay? That's all we need to do. As DRX going to change things up a little bit here by not banning Tristana and instead banning Kalista. And will that mean that a Renekton does sneak through and a Tristana is banned on red side? I would very much hope so, because Tristana is just a little bit too strong, in my opinion.
Yeah, a little bit strong. I don't think they'll let them have it. But there's a lot of discussion.
Yeah, maybe the other school of thought is ban the Renekton, they pick Tristana, and then you get Talia Vi, and then you have Talia Vi on Lucid Showmaker, which feels all right.
I think that's definitely the game plan. That's definitely what's going through their minds right now, and I do think that is just what we're going to see. I mean, it's not that anything else wouldn't make sense, but it just feels like the best scenario for Lucid playing Vi, and that's been a recipe for success for the last 2 years. Instead,
I mean, you can just go not. Vi, right, and then pick Talia on 3 if you would like to.
True.
Because Tristana is already locked in, so I do like the Vi lock-in.
Definitely very strong here. The Gnar also really weakens the Cassante pick quite heavily, and I think that's part of why we're seeing it picked so much right now, is it's just so good at pushing lanes, wins a lot of matchups kind of by default because he's ranged, so it's a very safe pick. You know, back in 2021, we saw it blinded a ton, kind of like Gragas we saw last year too. And let's see what the response is going to be here for DRX. Going to push the Ezreal up in prio here and just grab Ezreal Leona. So this is a great rotation here for DRX because it gives you one of the strongest
All
lanes
right, we
in
just
the
added
game,
some
as
Ethernet
well as
over
great scaling,
electrical,
double
so
AD
let's
carry
run
here. Means you're gonna
some
lose
speed
some of
tests.
the AP jungle picks you might have wanted to run.
Soon enough. going on, guys, that's not working correctly.